Okay, good evening everybody, and welcome to today's Scrutiny Children's Services Review Group meeting. I'm Councillor Lee Bridgen, the Chair, and I'll just quickly run through the preamble. The meeting this evening will be live streamed to the public. A recording of the public parts of the meeting will be available on the Council's website within 24 hours of the meeting. Will remote participants joining the meeting using Teams please turn cameras on when speaking and use the hands up icon to indicate a question or comment. Turn microphones and cameras off when finished. Those in the chamber, please remember to switch microphones on when speaking and speak directly into the microphone and turn off when finished. And attendees in the chamber, please make sure you have your phones turned off or switch to the silent mode. If you need to take a call, please leave the room and return when finished. And I will just duly quickly check that I've got mine on silent, because it would be rather embarrassing if that went off. Okay. Moving on to the first item of the agenda, which is apologies for absence.
Thank you, Chair. Apologies for absence have been received from Councillor Khan and Councillor Begum, and we've got Councillor Nazir for Councillor Begum. Thank you.
Thank you. Moving on to the next item of the agenda, agenda item 2, which is to review and approve the minutes of the last meeting on the 26th of February 2025. And just in relation to that, I'd like to express gratitude to Councillor Fry for covering as chair for that meeting. If there are there any comments in relation to the minutes on pages 5 to 12 of the agenda pack? I don't see any hands raised. No comments, so those can be approved. Thank you.
Sorry, can I give apologies? Sorry for the parent representative, Ashish Kajida, Katie Robert Thompson, and Mark Mailer. Apologies, I forgot.
No problem, noted, thank you. Moving on to the next item of the agenda, which is disclosures of interest. And I'll start by declaring a personal interest that I am a local authority governor of Summaries Junior School. Councillor Mahmood Hussain was first. Councillor Fry.
Teacher, Ignorant High School.
Councillor Keynes? No? Yeah. Thank you. Any others? No? Okay, thank you. Then moving on to item 4, which is urgent business.
None received, Chair. Thank you.
References for committees, from committees and other bodies?
None received, Chair. Thank you.
Thank you. Under item 6, the Chair's update, I have nothing to report at this stage, so we can move on to the main reports. The first one being under item 7, the Children's Improvement Plan Highlight Report. Oh, yes, sorry, I didn't see you online there, Paul. So, yeah, handing over to Paul. Thank you, Paul.
children in need and children in need of help and protection, children in care, and care leavers. So they're the 4 areas that Ofsted will come in and look at with us. So we've moved our plan back into that system and we've rescheduled it. Very happy again at the next CSRG to bring that plan forward so you can see the changes we've made and see the activity. But looking at our children in need and children in need of help and protection, some of the key areas that we've been working on there are very much around sort of the Pathfinder work. We've reviewed our single assessment, so it now includes pre-birth and young carers. And we've set up our family network support package pathway, so it's now live on our CRM on LCS. And we're about to have our NHS colleague finally join our MAC PT, our multi-agency child protection team, and they should be joining us on the 31st. So we're really excited about that. And we are working through some of the work with our police colleagues to try and get them into that position as well. Children in care, had a lot going on for our children in care. We've had foster care celebration events that went really well. We're running a pilot programme for our SGO carers to get sort of feedback on service and areas for improvement, so really hearing what they have to tell us. And we're also been doing a sort of journey mapping process for our kinship carers as well, with the idea it's all about strengthening and it's all about building our number of foster carers. We're really keen to strengthen the marketing process, but we need more Luton-based internal foster carers, which will help us on our way. And I should also say that we're looking to launch Mockingbird in early March. Mockingbird is a support network for our foster carers. So it's sometimes using other foster carers, but the idea is you get people who've experienced foster carers providing that peer support to other foster carers who are experiencing it now. And our care leavers, fundamental to everything we do, our corporate children. So we're creating a care leavers council, and that's coming into fruition now, and we've just been going through the terms of reference with our young people. And we've also done a bit of a reboot of our care leaver ambition plan as well. So, and I also know that there's some work there around being done with the corporate parenting board as well. So and I should note, because this came up the last time, our joint housing protocol has been reviewed. And as an interim measure, we've reviewed the banding, and housing have agreed to review the banding for our care leavers to increase it up to level 2. This is a temporary measure, and it's something that will need to be looked at within the housing policy going forwards, which we understand will be over this next year. So I'm happy to take any questions.
Thanks, Paul. Any questions, Councillor Momotufe?
Can I ask you, this time is the full ILAC inspection, isn't it?
Yes, it is.
Yeah. In terms of the areas of concern, and I think you mentioned 3 or 4 areas of concern, are you satisfied that you are now this time have managed to get those things that they were asking you in terms of improvement, and have you managed to get those right?
We have plans in place, Councillor, to ensure. That's part of why we're doing the service improvement reviews. We are checking and rechecking to find any gaps and to make sure that if there are any issues, that we're ahead of Ofsted coming to visit us. So ultimately, we shouldn't be ready for Ofsted. We should be ready for Ofsted every day. It shouldn't matter. We shouldn't be waiting for them. And this is the work that we're trying to undertake. Am I assured? I think we're on a journey still, and I'd like us. I'm sure Janice might have more to add, but we're on a journey, and I think we're taking positive steps forward from where we've been.
In terms of the care leaver, this was one of the concerns, and stability in terms of that. And you mentioned about protocol between housing and yourself. Are there now the care leavers are put on to given some sort of priority in terms of trying to find them accommodation?
Yes, the housing offer up to 30 places per year that's part of the housing protocol. Care leavers have now had a banding shift from what was band 3 to band 2, so they're able to bid at a higher. They've got more chance of being successful, but it is a banding within housing, and it is about bidding. I can see Janice has got her light on.
Yeah. And
All right, well, you kind of added what I was going to say already. I think in terms of our care leaver cohort, just to add some context, in terms of the large number of care leavers that we've actually got in Luton, I think historically we'd gone through a period where a number of children had come into care sometime during this journey of children's services over the last few years. And as a result of that, what we now are finding that we've got a large amount of children that have turned 18 that we're still providing obviously support for as care leavers. So there's a lot of work in that area, ensuring that actually we're reaching out to those young people, doing the staying in touch, which is one of the things that we want to do as corporate parents, but that's expected of us, but also ensuring that actually we're supporting those young people in terms of further opportunities for education, employment and so on. So it's just really to add some context that as children's services as it is now, that is a big area for us in terms of ongoing work and development.
I think we'll go over to Councillor Nasser and then over to you, Taslim. Thank you.
Thank you, Chair.
Sorry, Taslim. We'll come over to you after Councillor Aslam. Sorry, Councillor Nasser. Sorry.
Thank you, Chair. Paul, I just heard that you said about Mockingbird. So I just want to know, is that something new we adopted recently? And also, is that the payment set similar, compared to the neighbouring councils?
Oh, Mockingbird payments. I would have to come back to you on that specific item, Councillor. But it has been a piece of work that we've been undertaking for the last 9 months to build that Mockingbird project, and we're now coming to the point where we're able to launch it. So we're looking to bring and identify families who could be those Mockingbird families to provide that peer support. So yes, it launches very soon. It's been underway. Mockingbird is used in other local authorities. It's a really strong model, and we've only recently adopted it.
Yeah, because the neighbouring counties, they are doing very well with that. So which is helping the foster carers to some sort of relief for challenging times. Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you. Sorry, over to you, Taslim Aslam. Sorry, can you turn your microphone on? Yeah.
So what does your strengthened marketing campaign to recruit foster carers look like? So what has been added? Why did it need strengthening?
Got me to add that, Paul?
Yes, yeah, if you'd like to.
I think we've had a bit of a challenge here in Luton for quite some time in terms of retaining foster carers, but also bringing new people on board to become foster carers. And I think what we've really done is put more time and effort into talking to the carers that we've currently got, identifying what the challenges are for them in terms of taking children, particular children for placements where we struggle to find placements for some of our children and young people, but also really trying to enhance and utilise the strengths of our community. So actually we're an amazingly diverse borough. The range of children that we've got in care, there are lots of people within the community that we think would want to maybe undertake caring for our children and young people. But I think in terms of the marketing, it's making sure that actually the wider community understands that actually anybody can become a foster carer. I think we've also gone as far as hearing from people where actually some people don't necessarily have an understanding of what that term fostering means. However, when you talk to people about would you provide care for a child, who needed care, people understand that narrative a bit better. So some of it is about how we use the language, about when we're trying to promote what we mean by fostering and what it is we need for our children in Luton. So there's that. I think it's also looking at our marketing strategy in terms of where do we advertise for foster carers. We've got a rolling programme on things like LinkedIn, you know, that all of us, the directors, are flagged to or whatever. So we repost all of our adverts and all of our marketing and everything. I think there's also the bit from a corporate perspective as well about thinking about the local authority and really kind of strengthening our role as corporate parents and making sure that actually everybody across the council understands that responsibility that we have as a local authority in terms of providing that support for our looked after children. So I think it's lots of things like that, but also using the carers that we've got, you know, that are able to demonstrate that good practice and actually getting them into spaces where they can talk to people about the values and benefits of looking after children.
Thank you. Go to Councillor Keating, then back to Councillor Nasser.
In the past, you've had a stall in the Arndale or whatever they call it this week. Is there one coming up at all?
I can't tell you specifically, but there are a number of marketing strategies that we will be using. And if the shopping area is one of them where I think we've had some success before in terms of attracting people, then I'm sure we'll utilise that again.
I think it's worth it to look at it and possibly for more than one day.
Yeah, I'll take that back to the team. Thank you, Councillor.
Councillor Nasser?
Yeah, that's a question actually about the marketing you said about fostering. So are we, I mean, I don't know whether we are allowed to do it in the GP surgery, and also a question for Paul actually. Can we do it at the school as well, you know, advertise that on the schools?
It's a discussion we've already had with our schools and head teachers, and they're quite interested in actually being able to make that information more available to staff within the schools. I'm not sure what the take-up will be, but there was an interest from our head teachers to do that.
Thank you. Any other questions or comments? Councillor Mahmood Hussain?
Yeah, can I ask you just a couple of questions? In terms of the social worker caseload, I mean, what is the average now at this time with you, and how many agency social workers you've got?
So that would take me a couple of minutes to find that information out.
Yeah,
for you.
social workers, I think at the moment we've probably got about 54. However, what we have done is, in terms of the Pathfinder programme, we've moved some of our workforce over into the setting up of the Pathfinder programme and the Families First programme. And so we've again utilised some agency staff to backfill some of those posts while we go through this transformation. But then those workers, a number of those will come off once the Pathfinder programme's fully embedded into the service. So it's early 50s at the moment out of the whole workforce. We've reduced our numbers.
I'm totally confused. Are you saying a caseload of social workers
No,
54?
no. Did you say agency workers? I thought you said agency workers.
No, I said caseload, an average caseload for a start, and then how many agency workers in the social work?
Agency social workers, we've got about
54.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying.
So is that number increased in the last few years?
No, I think it's actually gone down from where
Gone
we were.
down.
So yeah, there's concerted effort to reduce the number of agency staff.
And my second question was an average caseload for individual social worker.
I can do that for. I was going to say it's the average. Bearing in mind this is from all the way from our sort of family help into our children looked after teams. The average caseload is 14 at the moment. Well, that was of February because that's the data that we have from BI. We will get new data shortly.
It needs to have it on average at about 15. That's the average across the board.
That's our aim. Yeah.
And I believe you had a success in recruiting local social workers recently. Yeah, because the numbers are quite up in terms of that.
We're definitely doing better in terms of recruiting permanent social workers than we were last year and the year before. So things have definitely shifted in the right direction in terms of us being able to retain. We've also had some success in converting agency social workers into permanent.
Thank you.
Thank you. Yep, Councillor Idris.
Thank you, Chair. I just wanted to go back to the marketing and the recruitment of foster carers. As you know, IBC is closing down this week with about 1,100 sort of job losses. So I think that may be quite a good place to get some foster carers from there. So I'm not sure if you guys are targeting that already. If not, then I think it'd be quite a good place to have a look at, because they'll be looking at other revenue streams. And yeah, okay, thank you.
Thank you. I don't see any other hands raised, so I think we can bring that agenda item to a close. Thank you, Paul, for your report and for taking the questions. Yeah, we can move on to the next item of the agenda.
Thank you, Chair. Thank you, members.
Thanks, Paul. Just bear with me. My computer plays catch up. Right, so the next item of the agenda is agenda item 8, the consultation feedback on proposed changes to the council home to school and college transport policies. That's on pages 17 to 62 of your agenda pack. And I believe that is it Debbie Craig? Debbie? Yeah. Over to you, Debbie. Thank you.
If I just introduce the report, thank you very much. Great pleasure in introducing this report. It's the outcome of a long process of review, consultation, and we've produced a report with recommendations which will help shape the more flexible approach to transport for young people into the future. I think it's important to note that we've not altered the transport policies for some time, but yet nationally changes have been taking place in terms of guidance, and this is very much trying to reflect those changes in pulling it together as a key piece together. I think it's important to note within the report that there are 3 key areas that we particularly would like to focus on. One is to note that we currently provide transport which is beyond that we statutorily have to provide. So therefore what we're trying to do is to bring it more in line with our statutory responsibilities. Our current approach to transporting children to and from school is not necessarily helpful in helping young people be more independent in their travel. And I think you'll see that some of the recommendations around how we build into the future transport policy greater independence training. And the other key point is about the financial costs are exceeding the money that we currently have, and an increasing demand on transport will continue to affect greater pressure on the council's finances unless changes come to play. So the report outlines the consultation, what our statutory responsibilities are, what other local authorities are doing, and also outlines a set of recommendations we would like to implement to improve flexibility, improve independence, but also reduce the costs to the council. And we have Debbie Craig, Lisa Ellis and Paul Brito, who are going to be reporting officers, will be able to go through the report, summarise and answer any questions. Thank you, Debbie.
Thanks, Paul. I'm just going to start and hand over to Lisa and talk about the consultation. So, as Paul's mentioned, this report updates Children's Services Review Group on our proposed changes to the Council's home to school and college transport policies. And this is prior to it going to executive on the 22nd of April. So as Paul's mentioned, the costs of home to school transport have been increasing sort of quite considerably year on year. And despite the budget also increasing, we've been overspent in this area year on year. Much of this, well, the main thrust of this is to do with a number of children with EHCPs increasing quite significantly year on year, and the report will show about 35% of children with EHCPs tend to be eligible for travel assistance. So to reduce budget pressures in this area, we're undertaking a range of activity. So we've been working really hard on setting up a sort of a procurement of external transport for September. So we should have more contractors on board, a better pricing strategy, and that should help drive down prices as well. We've got Paul Brito has been in post now for a few weeks. So how many? About 5 weeks or 5 weeks? Yes. So and Paul's working on optimising our internal fleet. We have our PTU, and we're also been promoting personal transport budgets as well. So we've also been looking at how we can update our policy to take account of changes in statutory guidance, and also reflect on how other councils have also been struggling with transport costs, how they have tackled this issue. So the report mentions that councils have been making personal transport budgets more of a default offer for those children not of compulsory school age. And the report cites some councils examples of where that's happened. Also, councils have been really pushing the independent travel training, not just about costs here, but really about giving young people the skills to move into adulthood as well. And also a contribution in the post-16 arena where we're allowed to request contributions has also been something that other councils have pursued. So we have consulted, and Lisa will talk about this in a moment, on a range of proposals set out at paragraph 13. And if all those proposals were implemented, it would reduce costs by about 1.5 million, we estimate. But Lisa's going to talk about the consultation process now, but then we'll answer your questions afterwards.
So the public consultation was started on the 22nd of January 2025, ended on the 28th of February of this year. We had really good engagement and we had 209 online survey responses with an average completion rate of 63%. We had nearly 1,700 visitors to our website that we developed to ensure that we actually were able to reach all of our community. On the website, there was an easy read version of the consultation document, and we also developed a short video that was able to be accessed by our community. We also held 2 in-person consultations on the 3rd of February and the 11th of February. 15 families attended the online consultations, which were held also in February. Key insights from the public consultation were 77% responded as parent and carers and families, and 9 young people actually responded to the public consultation themselves. We were really pleased with that. What we noted was that the responses to the consultation, there was some concern. There was particularly some concern around the independent travel training, and we've actually identified from those responses that actually we need to do some more work in supporting our families to understand about independent travel training and actually how that will really skill up young people to hopefully one day enter the workforce. So that's something that we would be proposing to do, is to do further work on that. Another area where families were maybe more concerned was around the contribution of £450. So although as part of the public consultation we had shared with families that those families might be eligible for the 16 to 19 bursary, which is a bursary of £1,200 for young people who is in 16 to 19 college and education. We know that we need to do further work on saying to the families, actually, there would be no financial hardship to you. The contribution could be taken from the 16 to 19 bursary, and the 16 to 19 bursary is available for learners and can be used for transport costs. It can be used for books, equipment, meals and lunches while young people are at college. So actually it's a bursary that we need to be encouraging our families to be applying for. It's something that our local colleges and sixth form providers already do with families and young people, support families to make sure they make that application themselves. Yeah, I think they were the key highlights of the responses that we had. But obviously, we'd be happy to take any more questions.
Councillor Fry.
Yes, thank you. I've got quite a lot of questions that I could answer, so I might do a couple now and then maybe come back with some other questions once other people have had some guys. Thank you. I've got some queries to clarify around the data that you've presented. You've said that you think that the assistance by 2030 could exceed 1,300 pupils. Can you tell me how that figure was actually calculated? You know, was it a linear graph? Was it, you know, just how are you working out that particular figure?
We looked at the trend, the growth trends. I think that we averaged at about eligibility increasing by 8% per annum. So that's how we came to that figure.
Okay, thank you. Also, I'm thinking about the bursary as well. You said there's £1,200 per student available. I looked at that bursary and it seemed to say that you had to be in receipt of PIP or DLA, and the other way you could get the bursary was through being a child who had just come out of care and who was on benefits themselves. That suggests to me that we might not be able to have certain families getting that particular bursary. What would happen in the event of somebody who is financially hard up, who can't afford the £450 because they fall into that category and they can't get the bursary? What will we be doing for them?
So the bursary is actually available for young people who have an education, health and care plan. So the young people that we're talking about would be eligible because they all have an education, health and care plan to attend their post-16 educational placement. However, you know, I think the proposed policy allows us to always, as a council, make exceptional decisions. So if there was a case of severe financial hardship and families, for some reason, such as moving into the country and may not be eligible for 16 to 19 bursaries, we would be in a position to make exceptional decisions if sufficient evidence was provided.
And a couple of other questions I were thinking of. I was looking at the data that was coming through from the parents. You said there were, was it 9 students that took part within that? If we were looking at 9 students, isn't that 9 out of, say, 600, 800 students who are getting the transport? Statistically speaking, that isn't really very valid as a statistic if you're looking at it just at the students. And I think when we look at the parental response, that is a very good response. I'm just a little bit concerned about how that might be potentially skewing the figures. I mean, all those students that are putting data in could be the I don't knows, you know, and we could, but do you see where I'm coming from? Do you think that perhaps that might be something that'd be worth looking at, what those students thought, or perhaps taking them out of that data?
So all of the responses were anonymous. So obviously the way we were measuring was if it was completed by a young person themselves. And absolutely, I acknowledge what you were saying, that actually 9 isn't that many. But actually what we were pleased with is actually that we had some responses for some young people, because actually it meant that we had actually been able to reach young people. When we look at other public consultations, we don't typically get responses from the young people themselves. So we felt actually it was a really positive that we had managed to reach those young people using the public consultation processes that we had used. But absolutely, I take on board what you were saying about it is still a relatively low number, but actually for us it was really positive that we had any responses from young people.
Okay, thank you. Looking at proposal 4, following the Department of Education DfE guidelines, you say that you will provide travel and assistance only when pupils attend their nearest suitable and available school. Now, I appreciate that is in the DfE guidance, but in the DfE guidance, it also says that we shouldn't take away parental choice. would you not think that perhaps the wording is perhaps, especially if you're looking at things on an individual case basis, might need changing to make parents a little bit more feel a bit more secure about that particular wording? Because the way I would read it as a parent is, oh my gosh, I'm going to lose all this, my funding, and I need that money because of X, Y, and Z.
I think the process about transporting to the nearest suitable school has been in place for many, many years now. The fact that really the proposal here is to bring into the policy what's actually been in practice for some time now. So this won't be a change really for Luton. This is about just tidying up our policy. So parents are well used to us knowing that we only transport to the nearest suitable school, and nationally that is something that all local authorities do. So if you were to extend that in any way, it would just be completely unaffordable to the council, unfortunately.
Okay, but we do have ECHP students who might live in the same catchment for Stopsley, but might be going off to Icknield.
Yes,
and they don't need transport.
Just for clarification, the Act defines the nearest suitable school as the nearest suitable school by distance, or if it's named in the EHCP. So if it's named in the EHCP, it actually trumps the distance criteria and becomes the nearest suitable school based on that young person's needs.
And a new yeah.
DfE guidance also says that if they're going without beyond catchment, then it's more, the council would have to look at feasibility of costs and mitigating those costs and trying to get them to go to the nearest school. I mean, you've said that you can make mitigations on that, and I'm just wondering if that word "only" in there might make parents feel like you're not doing anything for them. Maybe just rewording that might help those parents feel a little bit more secure.
We're currently working on the sort of transport policy at the moment, ready for executive on the 22nd of April. And what we've done is we've made it really clear in the policy that when we talk about nearest suitable school, it's the nearest suitable school to cater for the child's needs if they have special needs. So, for example, if the child needs to go to a special school, for example, it will be the nearest special school to meet that child's needs. So we've tried to make it really clear in the policy exactly what nearest suitable school means, because of course, if a child needs a special school, then we're not going to be saying you can't get transport to a special school because you're not going to a catchment area school. It's very much the nearest suitable school that can cater for your child's needs.
Thank you. Sorry, I kept my microphone on there. I do apologise. Am I right to ask one more question, Chair? Thank you. I did notice when I was looking at the survey reports as well, that item number 1, 3, 6, 7 and 8, the parents there were all saying that it would affect them with a very big impact. I noticed that you said you're trying to address those concerns, but do you feel that the report or what would go out to parents would actually be enough to address those concerns?
I think the obviously the feedback from the parental survey, we have looked at those. We will be doing we're proposing that we would be doing a big marketing piece on independent travel. We would also be supporting parents to understand about the 16 to 19 bursary. The policy will also be making clear other travel arrangements that are available, such as bus passes for young people and their families. So I think there will be sufficient information in the policy and the supporting documents of the policy to reassure families.
Okay, so are you going to give them additional information and within the policies that they'll be able to look at to address those concerns? Is that what you're saying?
Yes, so within the policy there will be appendices to the policy. We're also proposing that all of the information will be available on the local offer. It will be available on the main council website, and also in more detail on the local offer for families with children with education, health and care plans and disabilities.
I think I would just like to see more of that in the report, really, to make that a little bit more secure for me as a member of the council, and perhaps also maybe moving forward to executive. I feel that there's a little bit of information missing on that part, really, that could actually go into the report if I could. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Councillor Mahmood Hussain.
My first question really is that on paragraph 6, you said it clearly in terms of the overspend. If it continues by 2030, we wouldn't be able to afford this figure, because the figure is increasing quite considerable amount, isn't it? It's almost doubling the size of the budget. And I don't think, in my opinion, the council will be able to provide that service, would it?
No, you're absolutely right. I think it becomes unaffordable. And I think also that's what other local authorities in the same position as Luton. And that's why they are also looking, and many have done, and made the changes that we're proposing as well, because nationally this is an issue, a growing problem that councils can't afford the costs. We can't afford these increased costs either. So we're trying to do everything we can, not just about the policy, but as I mentioned before, about optimising the internal fleet, getting our procurement even tighter, everything we possibly can to make sure we bring this kind of transport for young people and children into a better position financially for the council, because of course the financial pressure that the council's under.
And a number of our statistical neighbours have already done that quite a considerable time ago, and we were a bit reluctant to follow their lead. But we don't have much choice now, do we?
No, that's right, and we are many councils. I've detailed some in the report as well. Paragraph 10 have already trodden this route, and we've been learning from them and trying to make sure that we're linked in with them. So the independent travel training proposal, appendix 2 to the report, that's very much based on the model that Leeds rolled out, and we've had people go to Leeds and understand how they've implemented it and learn from them, and it's really good, exciting proposal about independent travel training. And of course, it won't be suitable for everybody, but wherever possible, it will be just great if we can get that rolled out. Sorry, Paul.
Could just to pick up on that, obviously paragraph 6 does talk about the rising costs and about it would be unaffordable, but it's actually unaffordable now. We're at £1.2 million overspent on the transport budget as it is, and we've had to increase the budget every year, but we're still overspending because of the vast costs involved. And certainly as we move forward, that will be significant challenge to the council's resources. Money that could be spent more appropriately into supporting services within the community for young people, which actually we can't do at the moment because it's going into the transport system itself. And I think, you know, the independent travel, one of the big challenges is that the current system, that we have a heavy reliance, rather than on transport assistance, on children being taken by the council from home to school. And we're finding as young people then approach the age of 16 and beyond, they don't have the confidence to be able to find their own way and travel, and therefore their only travel connection is between home and school. In an evening and a weekend, they don't have the same kind of confidence. And I think the whole point about the independent travel training is to start early, to begin those processes, to ensure that children over a period of time become more confident, and that flexibility that is allowed through the transport assistance can be used not just for that travel to and from school, it can be used more widely than it is at the moment. So it should give parents, families and also our young people greater flexibility and greater confidence when they move into adulthood, that they can actually find their own way. And a lot of that will be through the work that is done to try and prepare that ground quite early on with young people. And it will involve us having to work not just with the young person and the family, but also with our public transport, so that they're aware of young people who might be testing the water and trying to find their own way. So there's quite a lot of work to be done. But ultimately, it should improve the independence and the confidence of our young people when they approach that point of adulthood.
Yeah, I mean, the reason I'm saying that in some cases where parents have been given a transport, is standing in their drive and our school bus turns up to pick up the child. It's how ridiculous it is in some time, is not encouraging those parents, giving them some incentive to take that child to the school rather than us providing a transport. So I think we should have done that a long time ago, but my colleagues were a bit reluctant at that time to do that. But I think the time is now, unless we do that, the choices would be very limited, and it would have to be the money had to come from somewhere else. And then we have to, take something else that could probably, with the service, would have to be taken off. So I think members need to take that into consideration. If we don't do it now, time will come where we don't have a choice. but to do that.
Councillor Fry?
You. If I can just come, I'm not unsympathetic that we're costing a huge amount of money, don't get me wrong, especially as this is a nationwide problem. My concern is that, you know, we need to make sure that the report reflects that the parents' concerns, and the parents' concerns, they're going to be worried. I mean, we have far too many parents driving their children to school anyway. They're not independent enough, you know, and you know, so the ITC, I did look at all of those proposals, and I actually thought all of them actually had some very good merit. But you know, when we're justifying something with such as things like family have a direct face-to-face contact with the setting, in which is paragraph 10.1. You know, as a teacher, I would say, well, that's very hard for any parent to be able to do, because you have to book an appointment to see the teacher and you might be going off to work. I mean, that isn't a justification. And I might be looking at that and going, well, I can't do that. That's not, you know, I just want to see something in there that's reflecting those parents' concerns that have been clearly raised within the survey that has been done. That's all I'm really saying, so that we can make sure that they are not worried about losing money. And I do agree that if we've been doing far too much more than what our statutory duty is, then that's an easy cut. But I think we just have to be more sympathetic towards those parents, because, you know, I don't want it to be that SEND is seen as a problem for those people. It's got to, so we've got to be we're more empathetic, I think, when we're doing something like this.
I think what we have been clear with parents, all of the parents that we've engaged with through the consultation process and with our other stakeholders, is actually that as a council, we will still always retain our right to make exceptional decisions, you know, for exceptional circumstances. So if in a family were in particular hardship, you know, the policy would allow us to make exceptions to any decision.
I think if I may, just to sort of maybe expanding on Councillor Fry's questions and comments. I think obviously in relation to some of the concerns raised, some of the mitigating actions and proposals that have been put in the report, how would you determine whether those actually really are allaying those concerns that have been raised in the consultation?
Well, we've in the report at paragraph 20, we've tried to sort of set out some of our sort of responses and mitigations to some of the issues raised. I mean, Lisa's already said about the exceptional circumstances, so I won't dwell on that too much, but that is really a key point, really. But I think we need to give better comms, as we've already mentioned, about some of the issues. So we've given some information in the appendices to the policy about personal transport budgets, about independent travel training, just to try and alleviate some of the fears, really. So we've given detail about how much the personal transport budgets will be and what they can be used for, how flexible they are. In the independent travel training, we've explained that this is something that we will do in partnership with parents. The school will be involved as well. It's something we're not going to impose that on anybody, but we really want to explore that with parents where it's appropriate. It won't be appropriate for all families. So we've tried to pick up some of the worries, really, that came out through the consultation. Things like nearest suitable schools already been raised, clarified that much better to make sure, you know, parents with SEND were thinking, well, my child can't go to my catchment area school. Well, that's not what we're expecting. We're classing nearest suitable schools the nearest for their needs, as we've spoken about already. So I think it's about the bursaries, making that clearer. We've put links into the policy about where people can access and go to find information about everything from the bursaries to concessionary fares. So we've really tried to make the policy as helpful and succinct as well, and accessible to parents as we possibly can. So hopefully that will alleviate some of the fears that have come up in the consultation.
One of the other things we've done since the introduction of the SEND transport team a year ago is we've actually developed we've got really established relationships now between the SEND transport service and our particularly our special schools. They have sort of termly check-in and meetings with groups of parents and the family workers within the school. So that's also an opportunity for, that's like direct communication where families, can raise concerns, and we can talk about individual cases and individual concerns. And we are planning that actually that we will continue with those sort of termly drop-ins and coffee mornings, because that's about making us visible as a SEND transport team, but actually making us visible as a council. So we think that that's really been supportive in allaying parental fears about the consultation as well.
And just to add to that, I think the team have done really well. There's only 2 members of staff at the moment, but the team have done really, really well in supporting parents, especially with personal transport budgets, where parents have been a bit confused about how that can be used. And we've had more and more parents sign up to that. So we've had some success in that area, and I think it's something we can really build on. And having that team there who are really empathetic to parents' situations and provide some sort of knowledge and support to help them, I think that's been helpful as well.
Thank you. Any other questions or comments? Councillor Bright?
I hear what you're saying about empathy and empathetic. I just think the proposals, just some of them, maybe just re-looking at 1 or 2 of them, coming back at it as if you were a parent who was going to suffer the loss of some financial support or reduction in the finances as a result of the new policies, and think about how would I respond to that wording? If you could word it just in a slightly different way, perhaps, maybe it might help those parents who are going to get really worried, and maybe put it, I can't see it very clearly in the policies that you're saying about the mitigating circumstances that you have those rights. As I say, only to me, when you've got that in proposal 4, just says you're taking away my right to choose, and they don't know that because of the way it's written. It's just some of the wording, I think, then. Thank you.
Councillor Mahmood Hussain?
I think as long as, you are giving the parents a generous support, and I mean, there are 3 examples you give between the local authority. I would suggest that, the one most generous one would be better, to encouraging the parents to take in a responsibility themselves and, giving them the choice of that. But where there is exceptional circumstances in terms of the hardship, that we are more sympathetic, because they have got already a huge responsibility of children with special needs, and therefore we have to do everything possible we can to be able to help them to make that, and do that in terms of where there is got to be a transport, that we make it, at least as a last resort in those circumstances, that we will do everything to provide the child's best interest as to be paramount.
Thank you. Any other questions or comments? No. Okay. So I'd like to obviously express gratitude to the officers and everyone involved in preparing this report and gathering the data and preparing the report and so on for this. Just an important point tonight is the recommendation is that the Children's Services Review Group support the proposed changes to the Council home to school and college transport policies. From the debate, I'm getting maybe an impression that maybe we're not all supportive of this. Is that a fair comment? And do we in that case maybe need to vote on whether we support this as Children's Services Review Group or not? I'm getting perhaps a nod. So that perhaps indicates to me that we're not all in agreement with this. So maybe we need to go to a vote on the recommendation. Can we go to a vote on the recommendation? Okay, thank you. So thank you. So the recommendation is that the Children's Services Review Group support the proposed changes to the council home to school and college transport policies, and I will be calling for a show of hands on that. So those in favour of the recommendation, please signify. Okay, and those, so that's got 3.
The representative can't.
Oh, okay, so it's 2, sorry. And those against? Okay, so that's 4. So I think this would still go to executive as the next step, well, without support from CSRG. We could do it as a reference. Okay. Councillor Fry? Yeah.
My comment would just be that I think some of the wording needs rephrasing to make it a little bit more clearer for parents.
Cool. Any other comments under this? So yeah, that could be referred to executive then. Yeah, thank you. Moving on to the next item. Bear with me. So it's the work plan under item 9 on pages 63 to 75. So for the next meeting, which will be on the 30th of April, we have 4 items: the education standards report, pathway for care leavers referencing accommodation, families first for children, the Pathfinder update and implementation of social care reforms, and percentage of EHCP issued with 20 weeks excluding exceptions.
Chair, can I just come in? The chart, the Pathfinder, the second item, will probably go to the June meeting because this is the last one of this municipal year. We're working on the work programme for next year, and it's been suggested that that item be moved and linked with the Ofsted preparation report. That would be okay with members.
Yes, certainly I'd be supportive of that. And again, I'm sure I'll be catching up with you and with the other officers to discuss that. I noticed there's also actually another item on the other page, recruiting of educational psychologists as well. So we might need to actually also 1, 2, 3, 4. We may need to shape another item from that, but we can discuss that. Yeah. Okay. And then yeah, the other items will be carried over into the next municipal year. Okay. Any questions or comments on the forward plan?